Good morning. This is Anuradha, Assistant Professor from Department of Computer Science and Engineering. I am going to deliver a lecture on testing of software products. What is testing? Testing is the process of exercising a program with the specific intent of finding errors before the software is delivered to the end users. The main goal in designing a series of test cases is to identify maximum number of errors found in a software. These techniques provide systematic guidance for designing tests that exercise the internal logic of software components, which are called as white box testing, and the test that exercise the input and output domains of the program to uncover errors in program function, behavior, and performance, which are called as black box testing. As I already mentioned, there are two perspectives in which the testing can be conducted. The first perspective is to test the internal program logic, which is said to be black box test case design techniques. The second perspective is to test whether the software requirements are being properly implemented into the software, which is said to be black box test case design techniques. In both cases, the intent is to find the maximum number of errors with the minimum amount of effort and time. Testing principles. All tests that are conducted at various levels of software should be traceable to customer requirements. Tests should be planned long before testing begins. Test planning should be part of project planning. Pareto principle applies to software testing. So Pareto principle states that 80% of errors are due to 20% of sources. So if that 20% of sources are vigorously tested, maximum amount of errors can be identified with minimum effort and time. The testing should begin in the small and progress towards testing in the large. Testing should always begins with the basic unit of the software, and it should progress towards testing the software as a whole. Exhaustive testing is not possible. It is not possible to design test cases for all possible input values. To be most effective, testing should be conducted by an independent third party and not by the people who are actually involved in developing the software. Testing strategy involves the various levels of testing conducted in the software. It starts with unit testing. Unit testing involves testing the basic unit of the software, which is a module in the conventional software and a class in the object-oriented software. And so it is followed by integration testing. As the basic units are being integrated with each other, integration testing is conducted, which is followed by validation testing. It involves testing the software in a customer environment. It actually involves testing whether the software is being accepted by the customers, whether it meets the client needs or not. And it is followed by system testing. A series of testing will be conducted as part of system testing to test the software as a whole computer-based system. So the first level of testing is unit testing. The test cases are designed to test the various aspects of the module, which is the basic unit of the software. So the various aspects of the module which are tested in unit testing are interfaces, local data structures, boundary conditions, independent paths, and error handling paths. The most common errors discovered in unit testing are misunderstood or incorrect arithmetic precedence, incorrect initialization, precision inaccuracy, incorrect symbolic representation of an expression. These are the most common errors discovered while performing unit testing over the basic modules of the software. The unit test environment involves drivers and steps. These are the dummy modules which are used in place of superordinate and subordinate modules. Since only one module is taken for testing under unit testing, the interfaces present in this module with the superordinate and subordinate modules can be tested effectively only with the help of these drivers and steps. Unit testing is followed by integration testing. It is a systematic technique for constructing the program structure dictated by the design of the software. So, in the design stage of the software engineering, the design of the software is constructed. As part of design of the software, the program structure is created. So, integration testing involves in constructing the program structure by integrating the modules of the software while performing a series of tests when this integration is being conducted. conducting tests to uncover errors associating with interfacing. The objective is to take unit tested components and build a program structure that has been dictated by the design of the software. It is performed using two approaches. First approach is said to be Big Bang approach. Second approach is said to be incremental construction strategy. Big Bang approach involves in conducting integration of all the modules at the same time. The second approach is said to be integrating in an incremental fashion. The modules will be integrated with the other modules in an incremental fashion and conducting a series of tests when this integration is happening in an incremental fashion. The second approach is more preferable than the first approach. So the integration when happening in the incremental fashion, it can be done in two ways. First one is said to be top-down integration, and the second type is said to be bottom-up integration. In top-down integration, the integration happens in a top-down fashion. It starts with the top module and it is integrated with the other modules present down in the hierarchy in an incremental fashion. The stubs are replaced one at a time in a depth first fashion. As new modules are integrated, some subset of test is rerun. The next type is said to be bottom-up integration, where the integration will happen in a bottom-up fashion. So, the integration starts from the worker modules which are found at the lowest level in the control hierarchy. Clusters are created, worker modules are grouped into clusters, and then these clusters will be integrated with each other, and this integration will happen in a bottom-up fashion until all the modules in the control hierarchy are being integrated. A series of tests will be conducted whenever the integration happens between these clusters. After the integration testing, a series of high order testing will be conducted. The next level of testing is said to be validation testing. It ensures if the tested and developed software satisfies the client needs. So two types of testing will happen as part of validation testing, alpha testing and beta testing. In both alpha testing and beta testing, the software is tested in a customer environment. In the first type, which is alpha testing, customer-like environment will be created at the development environment itself, and software is tested by the customer. So where beta testing will be done at the customer environment itself, so where the end users will be taught how to use the software and they will be allowed to test the software, so that you can ensure if the tested and developed software satisfies the client needs. So the next level of testing is said to be system testing, and it validates the complete and fully integrated software. A series of tests will be conducted as part of system testing. They are recovery testing, security testing, stress testing, and performance testing. Recovery testing is a type of testing that forces the software to fail in a variety of ways and verifies that recovery is properly performed. And then comes the security testing. It verifies that protection mechanisms built into a system will protect it from improper attacks. So, improper attacks will be enabled to see whether the software is able to protect itself from such attacks. Next is the stress testing, and it executes a system in a manner that demands resources in abnormal quantity, frequency, or volume, and see whether the software is able to handle such condition. Performance testing. It involves testing the runtime performance of the software within the context of an integration testing. So, these are the various high order testing that will be conducted on the software to see whether the software is able to withstand all kind of such conditions. So, let's see about white box testing, which is used to test the inner structure of the software. White box testing, sometimes called glass box testing, is a test case design method that uses the control structure of the procedural design to derive test cases. Using white box testing methods, the software engineer can derive test cases that guarantee that all independent parts within a module have been exercised at least once. Exercise all logical decisions on their true and false sides. Execute all loops at their boundaries and within their operational bounds. Exercise internal data structures to ensure their validity. So, white box testing methods are used to derive test cases that guarantee all these 4 types. Basis path testing is a type of white box testing that is proposed by Tom McCabe. The basis path method enables the test case designer to derive a logical complexity measure of a procedural design. So, by deriving such a logical complexity measure, the number of independent paths present in a module can be easily identified so that the test cases can be derived to test each of the independent paths so that the interior of the software is fully covered and the errors can be identified as much as possible. So this measure is used as a guide for defining a basis set of execution paths. Test cases derived to exercise the basis set are guaranteed to execute every statement in the program at least one time during testing. So when you identify this complexity measure, so you will be knowing how many number of independent paths are present in the module. So once it is identified, the number of test cases can be easily derived so that you can cover each and every statement in the module at least one time during this basis path testing. So flow graphs can be generated for a program. So by using the flow graph notations mentioned here, so the program structure can easily be converted into a flow graph. So from the flow graph, the cyclomatic complexity can be derived and the number of independent paths present in a program can also be easily identified. So here the flow graph notations for the various program constructs such as sequence, if, while, until, case are represented here. So all these flow graph notations will be having circles. So this circle will represent one or more source code statements and there will be edges present between these circles. The cyclomatic complexity is a software metric that provides a quantitative measure of the logical complexity of a program. When used in the context of the basis path testing method, the value computed for cyclomatic complexity defines the number of independent paths in the basis set of a program. So, cyclomatic complexity, when it is derived, uh, that can be used to define the number of independent paths present in the basis set of a program. So, once it is identified, the test cases can easily be derived to cover all the independent paths so that you can be sure that each and every statement present in a program will be covered when conducting test using these test cases. Independent path. What is an independent path? It is any path through the program that introduces at least one new set of processing statements or a new condition. An independent path must move along at least one edge that has not been traversed before the path is defined. The number of independent paths can be identified when the cyclomatic complexity measure has been derived. So this is an example flow graph defined for a program and it consists of a set of nodes and edges. So there are regions also defined in a flow graph. Using the regions also you can define what is the cyclomatic complexity and how many independent paths are needed to be identified from a program. So set of independent paths for the flow graph which is found in the previous slide. So four different paths have been identified: path 1, path 2, path 3 and path 4. Note that each new path introduces a new edge. There are also other paths that can be identified from the flow graph, but it cannot be considered as an independent path because it is simply a combination of already specified paths and does not traverse any new edges. So you have to choose only the paths which introduces a new edge. Then only you can consider it as an independent path. So paths 1, 2, 3 and 4 constitute a basis set for a flow graph. So once the basis set is identified, the complexity measure can be derived. So complexity measure can be computed in one of three ways. The first method is to identify the number of regions found in the flow graph. So in the flow graph which we saw in the previous slide, the number of regions found in the flow graph is 4. So the cyclomatic complexity can be 4. Cyclomatic complexity, the next method by which you can compute the cyclomatic complexity is by using the formula V of G is equal to E minus N plus 2, where E is the number of flow graph edges, N is the number of flow graph nodes. And third type is to use the formula V of G is equal to P plus 1, where P is the number of predicate nodes found in the flow graph G. By using any one of these methods, we can compute the cyclomatic complexity. Once cyclomatic complexity measure is identified, the number of independent paths to be identified from a program is also known, so that the test cases to be derived can be derived for all the independent paths, so that each and every statement in a program can be covered, every condition in a program can be covered, so that the number of errors identified so that can be maximum number of errors can be identified in a less amount of time. So the cyclomatic complexity computed for the previous flow graph. So for first method is to identify the number of regions. So number of regions found in that flow graph is 4. So the cyclomatic complexity is 4. So by using the second formula, there are 11 edges and 9 nodes. So when this formula is applied, the value you are getting is 4 again. And by the third method, so there are 3 predicate nodes are found. So 3 predicate nodes plus 1 is equal to 4. So all these 3 methods, when you use any one of these 3 methods, the value you are getting as cyclomatic complexity for the previous flow graph is 4. So now the next step is deriving test cases for all the independent paths. So 4 independent paths are identified for the flow graph, and it is necessary to derive the test cases to cover all the independent paths. So using the design or code as a foundation, draw a corresponding flow graph, determine the cyclomatic complexity of the resultant flow graph, determine a basis set of linearly independent paths, prepare test cases that will force execution of each path in the basis set. Each test case is executed and compared to expected results. Once all test cases have been completed, the tester can be sure that all statements in the program have been executed at least once. So these are the steps involved in covering all the statements in the program. So graph matrices are the important software tool that assist in basis path testing. So the graph matrix can be created from a flow graph, and the flow graph can contain the links in the flow graph can contain the weightages. Right? How these weightages are calculated. So the link weights can be assigned based on one or more interesting properties. The probability that a link will be executed, the processing time expended during traversal of a link, memory required during traversal of a link, resources required during traversal of a link. Based on any of these properties, the link weights can be associated with the flow graph. So based on that, a graph matrix can be generated. Using the graph matrix also, the cyclomatic complexity can be derived. Although basis path testing is simple and highly effective, it is not sufficient in itself. So, some other variations on control structure testing are needed. So, not only basis path testing is enough in conducting the white box testing, some other variations of control structure testing are also needed, which we will be seeing now. So first variation is condition testing. It is a test case design method that exercises the logical conditions contained in the program module. A simple condition is a Boolean variable or a relational expression. A relational expression takes the form E1 relational operator E2, where E1 and E2 are arithmetic expressions and is one of the following: less than or equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to. So compound condition is composed of 2 or more simple conditions, Boolean operators and parentheses. So condition testing is a test case design method that exercises the logical conditions contained in a program. So the types of errors found in a condition testing: Boolean operator error, Boolean variable error, Boolean parentheses error, relational operator error, and arithmetic expression error. And then Another variation of control structure testing is data flow testing. Data flow testing method selects test paths of a program according to the locations of definitions and uses of variables in the program. Uh, Assume that each statement in a program is assigned a unique statement number and that each function does not modify its parameters or global variables. A definition use chain DU chain of variable x is of the form x, s, s dash, where s and s dash are statement numbers. X is in definition of s and use of s dash. So the variables used in a program will be defined in a statement and will be used by multiple statements. So a definition use chain of the variable x will be identified, and by using such definition use chain, the data flow through a program can be tested. So where in which statement the data is defined and in which statements the data is being used. So the data flow can be tested with the help of the data flow testing. Another variation of control structure testing is loop testing. It is a white box testing technique that focuses exclusively on the validity of loop constructs. Four different classes of loops can be defined: simple loops, concatenated loops, nested loops, and unstructured loops. These are the different classes of loops, and by using loop testing, we can cover all different classes of loops. The set of tests for simple loops. So these are the set of tests that are used for testing the simple loops. Skip the loop entirely. Only one pass through the loop. Two passes through the loop. M passes through the loop where M is less than N. N minus 1, N plus 1 passes through the loop. So all these set of tests are needed to be conducted for simple loops. Similarly, set of tests are available for conducting tests for the different types of other loops also. So next is the black box testing. Black box testing is also called as behavioral testing. It focuses on the functional requirements of the software. It basically tests the input and output domain, and it verifies whether all the requirements of the software have been properly implemented. It enables the software engineer to derive sets of input conditions that will fully exercise all functional requirements for a program. It is not an alternative to white box techniques. Rather, it is a complementary approach that is likely to uncover a different class of errors than white box methods. White box methods concentrate on the internal structure of the software. Black box testing concentrates on the input and output domain of the software and verifies whether all the functional requirements have been implemented in the software. So the types of errors that are uncovered by black box testing methods are incorrect or missing functions, interface errors, errors in data structures or external database access, behavior or performance errors, initialization and termination errors. So there are different types of black box testing methods are available. In that, first one is graph-based testing methods, where the graphs are created using the various objects of the software. So the various objects of the software have been uh, depicted as nodes in a graph, and the relationship existing between these objects have been depicted as edges in the edges between the nodes. There are different types of relationship that may exist between the objects that are depicted using a directed link, undirected link, and parallel links. So the directed link will specify in which direction the relationship is existing between two objects. So if it is bidirectional, then undirected link will be used. There may be parallel links also to depict multiple relationship existing between the nodes or objects of a software. So by using such graph-based testing methods, so the various objects of the software and the relationship existing between the objects can be easily tested. This is one of the important black box testing method. Next is in equivalence partitioning. Equivalence partitioning is a black box testing method that divides the input domain of a program into classes of data from which test cases can be derived. So by partitioning the input domain into classes, so we can easily conduct the Black box testing. Equivalence classes may be defined according to the following guidelines. If an input condition specifies a range, one valid and two invalid equivalence classes are defined. If an input condition requires a specific value, one valid and two invalid equivalence classes are defined. If an input condition specifies a member of a set, one valid and one invalid equivalence class are defined. If an input condition is Boolean, one valid and one invalid class are defined. Then comes boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis leads to a selection of test cases that exercise bounding values. So boundary value analysis helps in testing the edges of the class. So when equivalence class partitioning helps in creating the classes, equivalence classes in the input domain. So at the edges of the class, more amount of testing is needed to be done because more errors are identified at the edges of the classes. So more number of test cases are needed to be generated at the edges of the class. So boundary value analysis helps in identifying the edges of the class, and test cases, more amount of test cases are generated to test the edges of the class. Then comes the comparison testing. There are some situations in which the reliability of the software is absolutely critical. Say for example, aircraft avionics, automobile braking system. In such critical systems, the reliability of the software is very much needed. In such applications, redundant hardware and software are often used to minimize the possibility of error. When redundant software is developed, separate software engineering teams develop independent versions of an application using the same specification. In such situations, each version can be tested with the same test data to ensure that all provide identical output. Then all versions are executed in parallel with a real-time comparison of results to ensure consistency. Thank you.